It was a cold morning in late November, when Grace stepped into a small diner on the corner of Maple Street. Her little girl's hand clasped tightly in hers. Her fingers shook from the chill. But it wasn't just the cold that made her tremble. It was hunger, exhaustion, and the quiet weight of shame. 3-year-old Lily held on close, her wide blue eyes taking in the cozy diner, the smell of pancakes, eggs, and freshly brewed coffee wrapping around them like warmth itself. Grace had walked for miles that morning. Their old car, the one they now called home, had refused to start again. It wasn't much, but it was all they had left after she'd lost her job and their apartment. She hadn't come to the diner to eat. She came to feel human again, to sit for a few minutes, breathe warmth, and pretend life was still normal. In her pocket were just a few coins, not enough for even a cup of coffee. She hoped she could sit long enough before someone asked her to leave. Choosing a corner booth near the door, Grace settled Lily into the seat and glanced nervously at the waitress, who seemed too busy to notice. Lily's cheeks were flushed from the wind, her pink sweater thin and worn, yet her eyes still shone with a child's innocent wonder. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your small gesture could inspire someone to make a big difference today, Grace whispered to Lily, spinning stories about imaginary pancakes and sweet syrup, pretending they might one day eat here together. But Lily's gaze drifted to a man sitting a few tables away, neatly dressed in a dark coat, his face calm yet distant. His name was Daniel Hart. Daniel didn't belong to the noise of that small-town diner. He came every morning not for food, but to escape the deafening silence of his empty home. His wife, Emma, had died in a car accident a year earlier, leaving his life hollow. He hadn't slept properly since. He noticed Lily when their eyes met. She wasn't smiling or asking for anything. She was simply looking at his plate, at the pancakes steaming in front of him, the golden eggs, the crispy bacon glistening under the morning light. It was a look no child should ever wear, hunger that spoke louder than words. Grace quickly pulled Lily's hand. "Come on, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice shaking. She didn't want pity, not again. They'd been judged enough, by landlords, by strangers who thought poverty was a choice, by those who believed kindness had limits. But before she could leave, Daniel saw her, saw the cracked shoes, the trembling hands, the child's longing eyes. Something deep inside him stirred, something buried under grief. He called the waitress and quietly asked for 2 more plates. Grace was just reaching the door when the waitress called out, "Ma'am, that gentleman over there said, breakfast is on him if you'd like to stay." Grace froze, her face flushed with embarrassment. She wanted to refuse, but then she felt Lily's small hands squeeze hers, her little body shivering. Slowly, Grace turned back. Daniel smiled gently. Not a smile that expected thanks, but one that said, "It's okay." They sat. The waitress placed pancakes before Lily, and the smell made her giggle softly. A sound Daniel hadn't heard in so long it made his chest ache. Grace whispered a fragile thank you, her voice breaking mid-sentence. When Lily took her first bite, Grace's eyes filled with tears. She turned away, pretending to look out the window, but Daniel saw the tear fall onto her sleeve. The diner buzzed softly around them, plates clinking, voices murmuring, coffee being poured. For a while, no one spoke. Daniel just watched the little girl eat with quiet warmth. She reminded him of Emma, the way she used to feed stray cats and believe kindness could save the world. He'd once told her she was too soft for this life. Now he realized, maybe softness was exactly what the world needed more of. When breakfast was done, Grace tried to pay, fumbling with the few coins in her pocket. Daniel shook his head. "It's already taken care of," he said gently. His tone wasn't pitying, just kind. As she gathered Lily's coat, Daniel glanced outside at the old car parked by the curb. One look told him it hadn't run in a long time. He followed them out, offering help. Grace refused at first, pride fighting need, but when the car refused to start again, she let him try. Daniel rolled up his sleeves and got to work. His hands moved with quiet patience, and soon the engine coughed to life. Lily clapped, laughing with delight. For the first time in weeks, Grace smiled, a small, fragile smile that looked almost foreign on her face. Daniel handed her a folded note. "In case you ever need anything," he said. That night, as rain poured over the car they slept in, Grace opened the note again. Her hands trembled as she stared at the number written inside. She didn't know why she called, maybe faith, maybe desperation, but when she did, Daniel answered on the first ring. Within an hour, he was standing outside their car, holding an umbrella and 2 paper bags of food. He didn't ask questions or offer lectures. He simply opened the passenger door and said softly, "You shouldn't be out here tonight." He took them to a small guest house behind his parents' old farmhouse, warm, clean, and scented faintly with fresh bread. After Lily fell asleep in a real bed for the first time in weeks, Grace sat quietly and wept. Outside the door, Daniel listened to the steady, peaceful rhythm of a child's breathing, a sound he hadn't heard since his wife passed. And for the first time in a year, something inside him began to heal. Days turned into weeks. Grace helped around the farmhouse, cleaning, washing dishes, leaving coffee for Daniel each morning. Lily drew pictures of Mr. Daniel holding her hand and taped them proudly to the fridge. Their shared pain became a bridge. Grace learned about Daniel's grief, and Daniel learned about the strength behind Grace's quiet resilience. Slowly, warmth replaced the emptiness in both their hearts. When spring came, Lily started calling him Uncle Dan. Sometimes, Grace caught him watching her with a softness in his eyes, the same warmth he'd once had for his late wife. Neither spoke about it, but both felt it. Months later, Grace found work at a nearby school cafeteria. Daniel helped her get her car fixed properly this time. Life began to feel possible again. One evening, Daniel came home to find Grace and Lily baking cookies in the kitchen. Lily looked up, grinning. "Mr. Daniel," she said, "Mommy says we're staying here forever." Grace froze, embarrassed, but Daniel only smiled. He looked at them, at the woman who taught him how to live again, and the child who unknowingly mended his heart, and said softly, "I'd like that." That night, they returned to the same diner where it all began, the same booth, the same golden light, but this time, laughter filled the space instead of silence. Grace laughed freely, Lily giggled, and Daniel's heart, once shattered, felt whole again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let it remind you that kindness costs nothing, but it can mean everything, because sometimes, God doesn't answer prayers through miracles, He answers them through people. For Daniel, Grace, and Lily, they were the answer to each other's prayers.